All right, we back. Octane Underground. You already know what it is, man. Corey J.
And K. Stizzy.
We got a very special guest with us today, man. He plays stickball around. He's been a real big help into the community. You know, over time, he's definitely made a lot of great impacts as far as how he developed and, you know, making changes to the community. Really, really been a lot of help. Seen this man on billboards and shit everywhere too. So he's eating that up for a little bit.
Yeah,
he's liking that.
And I like the one that was at y'all's practice.
I hated that one though. I said he's spying on us, bro. But go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Yeah, appreciate you having me.
Yeah, of course.
My name's Rob Martens, 43 years old. Well, about to be 43, a couple weeks. I work at the hospital. I'm a drug counselor, peer support specialist, recovery coach. But more importantly, I'm a person in long-term recovery. I've been clean and sober for 6 years. Big about culture, you know what I mean? Like that's my whole thing is culture for our people is the answer to the problem. You know
of course,
I mean? Like that's the big thing that I like to be known for or a part of, you know, because it was all given to me too. You know, I'm just sharing things that I learned. If I learned something today, I'll share it today. You know, and that's a way to be.
And what community are you from?
I'm from Big Y.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big Y.
So just right across the street, man.
Yeah.
You can pull this closer a little bit too.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's all good. We all good. We designed them so, you know, kids running around, you won't hear them. So definitely got to get a little closer to it.
No, I don't know if you can tell at home, but this place is decked out.
We appreciate it, man. We put a lot of work into it.
The vibe in here is real.
Definitely put a lot of work into it.
Like a 106 in Park or something.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
So real quick, we just got back. Me and Rob actually just got back from Oklahoma. We was out there trying to help the teams develop as far as stickball goes, and that's been real impactful for your life as well.
Oh yeah. That's like I said, culture is the answer, but you know, the biggest part of that besides stomp dance and language and stuff is stickball. It's a big part of my release, my medicine. You know. Because, you know, if you're part of a team, part of a stickball team, it really is a family, you know, and I'm sure you guys' teams like that too, you know, and I think that's the best part is the stuff that's off the field that people don't even see in October that goes on, you know what I mean? Like that's what really the connection piece to it, you know? Yeah, stickball is a big part of my recovery for real.
Have you been playing stickball or have you recently got into it?
No, I only started playing when I got sober. So go back to when Wolftown was the only team, right? Remember Wolftown would play Wolftown like in October. I was a young buck, like 16. I would be watching. I went to school with Junebug and them, right? So I would see them playing and I was like, yo, that's badass. You know what I mean? Like for me, like honestly, when I was watching stickball, like, yo, you got to be a man to play stickball. And I wanted to play, like, but I was never living right, ever. You know what I mean? I was always on drugs, you know. Since I was about 16 years old, I was doing hard drugs. So I didn't even attempt to, you know, because I respect that medicine part of it, you know. But I knew that when I got clean and sober, I was going to play stickball. And so Dee and Tosh and them guys had a big part in arresting me a lot, you know what I mean? But always encouraging me to do well and turn my life around. So when I got clean and sober, I went straight over there with them guys to play ball. So I only recently started playing. You know?
What was one of the turning points for your addiction to get sober?
Man.
Or if you want to start from the very beginning.
It's a long story, man. How much time? Nah, I can give you the remix.
Actually, real quick, while you're thinking about it, I was wanting to show the snippet real quick because I'm sure you watched it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is badass.
Yeah.
Yo. So, and then you skimmed it a bit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to kind of get, not his
shout out
first
to
reaction.
WhiteBird Productions.
For sure. We will shout them out at the end, too. But he didn't really watch it thoroughly all the way through.
Yeah, you got to see this.
So this kind of sums up what we were doing. For those of you who don't know, this is what we were doing out there in Oklahoma with our sister tribe, brother tribe, really. But our brother tribe out there in Oklahoma, for those of you who don't know, Cherokee was split during the removal into 2 different tribes. And then there's another branch off of that one. So there's Eastern Band, Cherokee Nation, and then there's the Katua Band. Yeah. And we're all one band. We're all Cherokee, but, you know, we're kind of segregate out and govern ourselves. But this is what we were doing out there, trying to help develop that team as well. So we're just going to take a moment to this.
I like the angles with the cameras.
But he was all in the mix.
Yeah.
You know
How he
what I mean?
switches like frames.
We had to run around him like a driver though too.
I didn't know Doug Swaney could run like that. You know what I mean? He was fast.
He booked
He
it
was
for real.
He's gonna be a good ball player too.
Oh, Elias?
Elias, yeah.
He's quick.
He's real good now.
Yeah, that man was whipping it out the middle too.
Yeah. He kept getting the ball. Birchtown was deep out there.
Yeah, I didn't expect them to show us so many, to be honest. There's a couple of new faces too.
Yeah.
Aside from Cherokee Nation.
Yeah, Birchtown got new guys.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
This shit sends chills down my
Gets
spine.
you pumped up.
Yeah, real loud. So yeah, that's pretty much what we were doing out there. Is definitely trying to bring it up to them and get them more involved with that. And they love it. They have some good ass players out there for real. They got some real potential out there. Shout out WhiteBird Media not Media Productions.
Yeah.
Apologies on that. WhiteBird Productions on that. That was clean.
Yeah, that dude was out there, and I was like joking around with him. You know, I had no idea he was gonna be doing all that, or I would have did something cool. You know what I mean? Like,
I was thinking the same thing. I was like,
I
now
thought
I
he
would
was just like taking
try to score
pictures
more.
and-
Like,
yeah.
let me make sure I run his way from the other side of the field. You know what I'm saying? Get my highlights in.
Yeah, it was cool.
But-
Good experience. We went out there last year too. We had a good time out there last year too, but they were really just new. We didn't. I think that was like one of the first times they kind of came together as a team, but we didn't play us versus them. We just mixed it all up and beat the crap out of each other. You know what I mean? It was fun though.
Hey, I mean, that's how you got to learn though. Just get out there and do it. Going back to what were you saying before I interrupted you guys on that question?
So you're a peer counselor, right?
Yeah.
I guess really just how it all began, your journey along recovery.
Well, it started when I was young. Right away I had a problem. By the time I started doing like hard drugs like cocaine and stuff like that when I was 16. I still finished school and graduated, but right away it was a serious problem. You know what I mean? I was already getting in legal trouble. First trip to rehab, I was 18. I went and had a really good time. Like I couldn't figure out why everybody was like, "Oh, don't go to rehab." And nobody wanted to go to rehab, but I had a great time. You know what I mean?
That's definitely like a unpopular opinion.
Yeah, you know, but I was like already at the bottom of the bottom. Okay, like when I say bottom, I mean like I was already a hardcore drug addict by the time I was 18, like hardcore. You know, like misery, all the darkness, not fun. You know, typically
the ugly side of addiction.
Typically, it's going to be like you're going to have a lot of fun for 10 years, maybe. You know what I mean? Like you're partying, you're having a good time, but right away, I could not stop. You know what I mean? And it was, you know, it was bad quickly for me. But when I went to that rehab that first time, I had a really good time. I had a good experience. I definitely wasn't going to quit using. You know, I wasn't ready yet, but I enjoyed being, you know, somewhere to sleep every night, something to eat. Everybody's around like hugging you, telling you doing a good job and all these different things, you know. And so then I started playing this game. Like I would come home, I'd get strung out. I'd be on the street for, 6, 7, 8 months at a time. And I'd be like, oh, well, I'll go to rehab for a little while. You know,
was this in Cherokee? Or was this?
Yeah, Cherokee, yes. Oh, so I didn't grow up around here. You know.
Okay, yeah. So I guess so start to finish, like
I
guess we should have started with like, who are you? Like, where did you grow up?
Yeah.
You know, what's your relationship with the tribe growing up? That sort of thing.
Well, I'm Rob Martens. I'm not a white boy. You know what I mean? I'm an Eastern man, Cherokee Indian. Nah, all my cousins are, you know, my real dad is white. You know what I mean? So and I look just like him. You know, never had really a relationship with him till I grew up. But my brother's dad adopted me. So my mom moved away from here to Charleston, South Carolina when I was a baby. Met Matt's dad, if you guys know my brother, Matt Martens. That's where she met him. He was in the Air Force. He married my mom and he adopted me, and they changed my name to Robert Glenn Martens. It was Robert Glenn Reed.
Okay.
And so I come from the Reeds, from right up there.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering where Martens came from.
Yeah.
So, okay.
That's Matt's dad's name, and he adopted me. You know, and I was never going to change. That was my name. You know what I mean? Like I already had got it tattooed all over me and everything.
I mean, sometimes it's just like an acceptance thing, you know, and sometimes you like who you turn into instead of.
So my grandparents are Glenn and Nita Reed, and I'm Deer Clan. So I'm just, like I said, right up the road, Big Y Community, Wrights Creek. That's where I'm from. So we immediately were an Air Force family, you know, because my mom married that guy. He's in the Air Force, and we lived at Pope Air Force Base for 10 years. Then we moved to Okinawa, Japan when I was in like 5th grade, I think. Went to Okinawa, Japan, So my brother, it was really cool because he came home from work and told my mom, we're shipping out overseas.
Right.
We can go to Germany, or we can go to Okinawa. You choose. And my mom chose Okinawa, so packed up and moved to Okinawa.
It's pretty out there, though.
Yo, it was freaking awesome.
Wow.
It was one of the best times of my life. You know, like it's so crazy the way my life turned out, because at that time, so I moved out there, I was like 6th grade, and I stayed out there till the end of 10th grade. Right. So that's like
a good minute.
Yeah. You know what I mean? That's like a crazy time too, to be, you know, you're trying to be a young man, you know, but Okinawa is like the most beautiful place I've ever been in my life. I'm talking, it's summertime all year round. You know, it's a tropical island. It's also part of a barrier reef. You know, there's only 2 reef areas in the world. One's in Australia, and this is the other one. You know, it's Okinawa. So the big thing there was scuba diving. When I turned 14, I got my scuba diving license, started scuba diving. I was big about cross-country running and soccer. I was the furthest thing from drug addict.
You see, this is something I never would have known.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I was all about, I was going to go to the military. When I got old enough, I was in military school ROTC. I was big into that stuff. Like when I see the cross-country runners and they're excelling here, I was smoking those times. Like if I ran anything over 14 minutes in a 5K, I would have been like highly disappointed. I was 14 years old running like 13:30s, 13:6, and I was an average runner. Yeah. In where I went to school, I went to a high school that had 5,000 students in it. We had a Burger King in our school. You know what I mean? Like there was a Burger King cafeteria. Big school. And then I went from that to Cherokee. You know what I mean? Like talk about it like a shock. You know. But my mom and my brother's dad. He is my dad. You know what I mean? He raised me. I don't know why. I always say my brother's dad. You know, really, he was my dad. Right. He raised me. He was good to me, but I was a bad kid. You know what I mean? I always been in kind of like getting in trouble or real manipulative. I lied all the time. You know, I just couldn't tell the truth. I was always that kid that had to have all my assignments signed by the teacher and signed by my mom. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and I would still get decent grades. I just didn't care about school. You know, I was just always up to no good.
Would you say that's like, that was from early on too? Like,
yeah, right
like
away.
Elementary, middle school?
Yeah.
Or was it as soon as you kind of met Matt's dad? And
no, so I didn't even, I wasn't even old enough to know that wasn't my dad. You know? So a lot of the, I feel like, now none of this is my parents' fault. You know what I mean? They did the best they could. But I feel like a lot of it was trying to be, you know, like, so I look like a white boy, right? So I'm always trying to be real native. You know, when I was a kid, all my cousins are all picking on me. Well, you're a white boy. You know, giving me a hard time. So I immediately, now that I'm like all about some mental health awareness and that's actually my job title now is qualified mental health professional. I see where I was like, I had a problem. I had like a self-esteem issue right out the gate. You know, I was always real small, really short, really skinny, really white. You know what I mean? Like all these things that I'm like, don't like about myself.
Right.
And before I even knew what self-esteem was, you know what I mean? Like I was already like, hated myself. My brother always got great grades, well behaved, never got in trouble, you know, and then there's me like barely passing, getting in trouble, you know, and it's just like it's like all these things that set me on this path, you know, of that I chose for myself, you know what I mean? Like, cause I had all the chances in the world to fly right, you know, and still ended up like that. But it was all kinds of things where I learned how to hate myself. I was so hard on myself, you know what I mean? Like, right out the gate. And so I'm in Okinawa, it's 10th grade, and then find out like suddenly like me and my mom are coming back to Cherokee, and my brother and his dad are staying in Okinawa. So they decided, you know, they separated and got divorced. And I was like super excited to come back to Cherokee. I always wanted to be here. I'd be here every summer as a child, you know, and this is where I wanted to be at. I had no idea what I was getting into at that time. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
I honestly see a couple of similarities in between me and him growing up as far as like, you know, just that disconnect there.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it wasn't that I was a bad student, but I definitely was like, I just don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't care. And he was like straight and narrow, like Stafford,
college,
you know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, fuck school, you know?
Yeah,
I was
my
like,
little brother, same way. Went to college, played college football, played, you know, successful. 2 dogs, cat, 2
like
kids.
the white picket fence.
Yeah, all that, paid all his bills, you know what I mean?
Did you ever feel like your brother was like in competition with you for your parents?
No way, because we loved each other. Me and my brother always been tight. You know what I mean? It was never like that, but in my head it was.
Okay.
Like, but you know what I mean? It was never like, you know what I mean? Like
I can relate to that.
I loved my little brother, still do. Like, you know, that's you know, that's my brother, you know.
I can definitely relate to that. Never that I saw any animosity towards you.
Yeah.
But I do also remember like you know, I want to say it was almost like me and David. You know what I'm saying? Like I was always, it was like me and you. In my head, it was like me and you, but really I was more pissed off about me and him.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I remember like I would ask for like, and this is like such a petty thing, but we're young, right?
Yeah.
And this stuff matters. But remember, like I was like, I want Skate 3.
Asking for stuff, and
then he would give it to him.
Oh yeah.
And it was like nothing like. I see what he was trying to do. He was trying to develop, like help make us develop a relationship.
Yeah.
Oh, it's his PlayStation.
Oh, so
you have to go and work with him on, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I see what he's trying to do, but as a kid, I'm like,
as a kid, you don't see any of that, but that's crazy. To
so I definitely relate to that in that aspect as well.
Yeah. So it was like when I found. So remember, I told you I didn't even know that wasn't my dad. You know, so I found out later. Like I don't know, I might have been like 11, and when I found that out, I used that instead of being like grateful, like, yo, this man is like gave me his name, raising me, treating me like his own. Instead of being grateful for it, I was opposite. And I was like, man, you know, bucked even more. You know what I mean? When really I should have been like, yo, you a stand-up guy. You know what I mean? Instead, I was just typical, immature, totally ungrateful, you know, just Man, yeah, I was bad.
Everything you should have or shouldn't have been.
Yeah, I was the complete opposite of how I should have been, you know. And then it made me. It was like me and them, and it wasn't them treating me like that. It was my mentality.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Yeah, but yeah, it's the same like that because that technically wasn't my dad, and I thought, oh, they're treating me different, and you know, and I would just be making that stuff up in my head and using it as an excuse to fail, you know. And like with your brother, my brother was like a great guy, and he was never like, I'm better than you, but I felt like you're better than me. You know,
it's
what
just
I mean?
like, yeah, it's definitely that. Just
when you have them like parallel to each other and seeing the differences,
definitely much more watered down, but you know, it's still like that's just the only way I can relate to that. But so you end up coming back home, they get a divorce. Yeah. You're coming back home by yourself with your mother.
Yeah.
So Matt's still out there.
Yeah.
Did you stay in contact with him?
Yeah. Yeah. We talked some, and I even went to see him on one of my spring breaks because not long after that, they moved to Florida.
Okay.
To a different Air Force base.
And how much older is he than you? Or the younger, I mean.
He's
you would be
4 years younger than me, maybe 5. 4 or 5 years younger. Because we would never go to the same school. Like, but I graduated high school, and then he became a freshman.
Okay.
So it's like, I think it's 4 or 5 years.
That's close enough, yeah.
Yeah, it's bad. I should know how old he is.
No.
But I know
I got 8 siblings, so I only know Kozik's age, and that's the only one. So
I know it's 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
So you're back in Cherokee now,
and
you're excited to be here, and you're like, wow, like I'm back home. This is where my roots come from, because you're aware of this, right?
Yeah.
So you're aware of the Reed family coming from the Reeds.
Yeah, I was big about I was my grandparents' favorite grandson. You know what I mean? I think a lot of it was my grandpa, because I was good. To, you know, I did anything they asked. Yes, sir. No, sir. You're grateful. Yeah. And then all my cousins would pick on me. I think that helped me be the favorite, you know, which also made them pick on me more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
it's like a bittersweet.
Yeah, I was really happy to be here and be home, even though had no clue what it meant to be Cherokee or indigenous. You know, there was nobody really in my family that was cultural. You know, my grandparents were Christians. You know, they went to church, so I never grew up in Stomp or with the language or any of that. But I was really excited to be here because I felt like this was my home. You know what I mean? And it was crazy because remember I told you, like, and I'm in Okinawa, I don't smoke cigarettes. I drank once or twice because in Okinawa you don't have to be of any age to buy alcohol off the Air Force Base. So like as a freshman, like my first experiences with partying were like me and my buddies sneaking off base. Drinking, you know what I mean? Like we're all gonna say, "I'm staying at your house, you're staying at my house," you know. And we would do stuff and we party a little bit.
Once you cross that threshold, it's same laws as America.
Yeah, you can get in serious trouble out there. You know what I mean? But not, you know, I was not ever getting in like serious legal trouble. I shoplifted one time on the base and got caught and got in a lot of trouble about that. But I wasn't like a criminal yet. You know? But. So I didn't smoke cigarette. I was against smoking cigarettes. I was against drugs. There was
just straight and narrow.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Just partied on a Friday here and there. You know, like any typical young teenager would do. It wasn't out of hand. But as soon as I got back to Cherokee, okay, so I've been gone for a few years. First thing I do is run in my grandparents' house on Wrights Creek, hug them, and I'll shoot straight up the hill to see my cousin, Stephen Ross. I don't know if you guys knew him or not. He's passed away now. He's a few years young. He's about the same age as my brother Matt.
Okay.
But he was like, we were cousins, but we were like brothers. You know, he's my first cousin. Yeah. My mom and his mom are sisters. Me and him were tight.
That definitely fits the Cherokee.
That was my dog.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I run straight up the hill to see him, and I'll never forget, like, cause I never knocked. And, you know, I never knocked at any of my aunts or uncles' houses or and just run in, you know what I mean? And I bust open the door and he's home alone and he's bumping Do or Die, like or Twister or something like, I'm at loud, like, and he's dancing in the living room. He's probably like, I don't know, he's like 13 years old. You know what I mean? He's getting, and I'm like, yo, you know what I mean? And he's like shocked to see me.
Was he embarrassed or was he just like,
immediately like, there's Rob. You know what I mean? Like, you know, that's how we was tight, you know, and the first words out of his mouth are not, hey, how you been? Oh, it's been 3 years. You know, I've missed you. None of that. The first words out of his mouth were, do you want to get high? You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah. And even when I said it, I remember thinking like, what are you doing?
Like,
you know, that's not like that? You. Yeah. And
or did you already know?
No,
were you
I
already
didn't
aware?
know. I mean, if somebody says get high, I knew it meant probably smoke weed is immediately
Right.
what I had in mind, but I had never even seen weed. You know what I
Okay.
mean? I'm like 14 or 15 years old at this time. And I said, yeah, like, you know, and I didn't even, you know, I remember thinking like, what are you doing? And so he gets some weed, like some roaches off the top of the fridge. And we go all the way down the hill from his mom's house, down past my grandparents' house, all the way down, all the way to the creek where my Uncle Bub lives down in that area. And we smoked those roaches on a can. And that, it was on. Like from that, literally from that moment forward, all I wanted to do was get high. It was that simple. You know what I mean? Like, and it just weed, you know,
Right,
like I was a pothead immediately, you know what I mean? And it was fun. You know, it wasn't really a bad thing. You know, it led to, it is a gateway, you know, I get that. But at that time I was like, oh, this is great. You know,
So
like,
you agree with the gateway?
yeah,
like,
you know, it can be, it can, you know,
still so like
ironically, yeah,
loosely used.
it's just
I feel like.
depends. You know what I mean? It's really, if you have that disease of addiction, I really feel firmly that addiction is a disease. Because look at me and my brother, right? We've already kind of established like how I came up, military, strict, you know, loved, you know, never seen poverty in my life ever till I came back to Cherokee. You know, we had everything we could have asked for, wanted.
Right.
Vacationed all over the place. I've literally seen I've been to Korea and Guam and, you know, all these other places. But my brother can drink beer on a Friday night at Applebee's and not do anything else for a year. You know what I mean? And me, I'm gonna have a couple beers at Applebee's and I'm gonna go get some freaking drugs. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna party till I'm homeless.
To Corey and I, because I noticed that with drinking for myself.
Yeah. Yes, I think it is a disease. You know, it's genetic. You know, something inside my brain says you need to get more of this. Do not stop. You know what I mean? Like it is. I feel like it is a disease for real. It's a genetic disordered type of thing. You know.
I was talking to Corey about this right before you showed up, but like how, in a way, addicts have like this do or die mentality about certain things, and if you just transition that energy to improvements, you can have that same impact, right?
Yeah. You know, it's very addicted to things that make me feel different, right? Because for so long I wanted to feel different. You know, like when I came back to Cherokee, I assumed this role of like, Rob, he likes to party. Like your mom and Nina, I knew them when I was young, and you can ask them. Like when I first met them, I was a young teenager, and I partied. You know what I mean? Like everybody was like, "Oh, that's Rob, and he parties," and like that just became my identity, and like I just rolled with it. And
when you're young, that's like quite a role to take up, though. It's like, like, oh, he's that guy.
Yeah, you know, and immediately I don't know how it happened, but like right away I was like connected with people I should not have been connected with, like that sold drugs, and they thought I was cool. That was a big part of how I got into a lot of crazy places because I was cool. You know, as a young man, you know, like 17, 18, 19 years old, people were like, yo, Rob's cool. Let's party. You know what I mean? And
so when was that transition from like, I guess, smoking weed to like the harder?
It happened, so go ahead.
So I guess you smoked weed for the first time.
Yeah.
Right. And then that was it. Like you were like, oh shit, this is my shit.
Yeah.
And then from there, what was the next step after?
Next step after that was,
because you're in what grade now?
Huh?
You're in what grade now?
11th grade. So I went to Cherokee High School for 11th grade and 12th grade. Okay. So I went from that high school, had 5,000 students in it. I met everybody in my grade in 11th grade, probably the first day of school. You know what I mean? Like, I think my class was like 50 students, and that was like a big deal. And this is 1998, you know, so I graduated in 99. So in 1998, everybody was like, oh, the next graduating class is going to be huge, you know? And I was like, yo, it's 50 people. Calm down.
He's like, relax.
That was big.
There's like 1,000 kids in my last class. It was crazy.
You know, like, but right away, I was smoking. I don't know. I guess for about a year, I smoked weed, and then I did some cocaine when I was 17 years old. So I started smoking weed at 16. By the time I was 17, I had tried cocaine. By the time I graduated high school, I was still 17 years old when I graduated. And by the time I was 18, I was doing cocaine on the regular, you know, snorting cocaine. I had also shot it up a couple of times, which was highly frowned upon in 1999. You know, that was not the thing. Now you walk down the road, you see needles on the side of the road.
Yeah.
You know
it's definitely like unfortunately is like normalized.
Yeah, yeah. So it was something that you snuck around and did back then.
Like unheard of type of thing.
Yeah, because people were like, oh, use needles, that's gross. And, the drugs, my bad. The drugs scene wasn't real dark at that time. There was not a lot of people doing cocaine back then. It was kind of like the older crowd. But like I said, I got hooked up with some people because I would be buying weed. I didn't want to give my money to nobody to buy. Well, I wanted to buy my own weed, because I felt like it was cool. You know what I mean? And so I made some people introduce me to some people, and then quickly it escalated to, buy some cocaine from me. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. So this has all happened quickly. You know what I mean? Happened quickly. And when I graduated high school, I was still 17, so that was 1999. By the time 2000, I had already been to rehab like 2 times, maybe.
What was that turning point where you looked at yourself in the mirror and said, wow, I have an addiction to X, Y, or Z?
Well, so the first time I went to rehab, that's when I learned about addiction. It's a disease. Yeah.
For that first rehab too, did you like self-admit yourself or?
Yeah. I told my mom I needed to get help. My drug use was getting out of hand. So we went to Cherokee Hospital, to the emergency room, told them what was happening. They shipped me off to a rehab in Black Mountain, North Carolina. It's a 28-day program. That's nothing. Now, I'll tell you right now, 28-day programs are that's like your initial first experience with rehab. It needs to be long-term. You know what I mean? But I definitely went because I knew I needed help, but I knew in my heart that I wasn't ready to. I didn't, I didn't think I wasn't done yet. You know what I mean? Like I still wanted to party. I still wanted to hang out with the wrong people. Had no idea what it meant to be a man. Thought I was a man. Work construction. I drink beer. I just had no clue what it meant to be a man, especially not a Cherokee man. Yeah, but I got out of rehab and quickly started doing drugs again right away.
Did you have any mentors during this time that you could rely on?
The people I was looking up to was beer drinking, construction working dudes like my uncles.
Yeah.
And, that's what I thought was cool. Like that's what I wanted to do. But when I would get to partying, I couldn't stop. You know what I mean? But
right.
I worked. I was a very skilled sheetrock hanger and metal framer and carpenter. By the time I was 20, I was skilled in all that. I made a lot of money working construction for a long time, but I thought if you got up and went to work every day, it was okay if you got fucked up every night. You know what I mean? Because that's the people I was looking up to were the wrong people. Yeah. I didn't had no positive male supports or role models at that time.
I feel like it's almost like still like a normality too. Like as far as like I don't want to say blue collar workers, but like people that do construction and stuff.
Yeah.
Like especially they work away jobs. Say they live here and they're working in Georgia. Those dudes are going to the bar every night.
Yeah, drink beers. I mean, and that it's like
it's like the thing to do with your homies.
The next day and went to work, you weren't. It's not a bad thing. Yeah. It's not frowned upon. You know what I mean? But then when they found out, like after they all pass out drunk, I'm like going out because I worked on the road too. You know, so I would leave. I could make like $2,000 in a week. You know what I mean? As an 18-year-old boy. You know what I mean? And I'm like,
it's like, what do you do with that?
Yeah, spend it all on drugs. You know what I mean? All of it. And then go back to work.
How much was per cap at this point? Because per cap probably had a
didn't even get per. Well,
did you not?
I don't know. We didn't get.
In 98, I thought 98.
Was it a couple $100?
Yeah, it was nothing to report.
Talk about genuine.
It was right. Yeah, because I got a big per cap check when I turned 18. It was 10 grand.
I was about to say maybe 8K or something like that.
I didn't even remember it was so small. Yeah,
10
grand. 10 grand, man. I bought a truck. I bought a pound of pot. And I bought 2 8-balls of cocaine, and I thought I was Scarface, man. You know what I mean? In a motel room in Tennessee. Yeah, totally wasted all that money.
This is kind of like a side topic, but it's interesting to see how like stronger like weed and cannabis has gotten now compared to like 20, 30
it was
years ago.
Weed back then. You know what I mean? Like just Reggie. I guess that's what people call it now. And that's what I spent my money on. I bought an old hot rod truck. Pound of pot, couple of 8-balls, case of beer.
And then you said you've been sober, what, roughly around 6 years, right?
Yeah, exactly. 6 years on June 14th. So
within your journey, you still have years.
Oh, yeah. See, that's what like, this is already, like I said, like it quickly was, you know, like, okay, a normal, there is no normal, right, when it comes to addiction, right? We all know that. But typically, somebody's going to, you know, the ladder they climb of, you know, weed, hard drugs, you know, suicide, all that is greater. Mine was quick, you know, boom, you know, right away I was already junked out. Yeah. That's not typical, you know. But yeah, it went from then. So I started when I was 16 till I was 35 when I really was like, okay, this is real. Like I got to change my whole life around, you know. Mm-hmm. And, so you think it's bad, like those times I'm telling you when I was 18, 19 going to rehab, that was nothing. I had no clue the road I was on and how dark it was going to get. Like I can laugh about it all now. Trust me, you know, I'm like a real open book when it comes to this stuff. Like I share my story all the time to try to encourage people to, you know, stand back up, you know what I mean? Ask for help. But it's really dark things happened in that 20 years. I was doing drugs for 20, 21 years, you know.
Right. So how did addiction impact your daily life or relationships?
Man, ruined it. I was a shit dad. I was a shit son. Anything, whatever you put there, put shit in front of me. You know, I was bad at everything, man. I was a horrible. I didn't take care of my son. Dorian was born young. I was 19 when my son Dorian was born. He plays ball with y'all.
Yeah.
And I was never there. You know what I mean? Yeah, I was just I didn't. When I did I would still be using drugs. You know what I mean? Like even when he was with me, I did drugs every single day. There's not a single day where I didn't do drugs unless I was in jail or rehab. Stole from my mom, stole from my grandparents. You know, I stole from everybody. I probably stole from people in your family, guarantee it. You know, because I used to run with Mike E all the time. You know
okay, I mean? Yeah.
So I mean, I've done tons of dirt. When I tell you I was a horrible human being, bro, that's putting it nicely. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it negatively impacted my whole, everything about me changed. You know, I had no morals. That's the thing when you said people that suffer from addiction risk it, you'll risk your life for $5. Your life and your freedom over just $5 worth of drugs. You know what I mean? Like I'm ready to die for the next hit. You know what I mean? Like that's what addiction was like for me. And that's what it's like for most people. Just most people don't want to say that yet, or they can't say that. But I didn't care. I didn't care, you know, about anything. Didn't care about my kids. I didn't care about my grandparents, family, culture, none of that. You know, all I wanted to do was get high. That's it.
Was it still with Stickball in the back of your mind? Because you said you saw it when you were young.
You know, and I would still go like when
you'd still watch the games
when
I
didn't have warrants. You know what I mean? I would go to the fair.
Cops was just rolling around the thing.
They didn't have all the games on YouTube and stuff back then. You know, like but when I would go watch, I wanted to play. Like I thought that was so dope. You know, I never been like a star athlete at anything. I was really good at soccer and I was really good at running as a young person. You know what I mean? But I always loved competing. You know what I mean? Like I loved competition. I loved competing. I like winning. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, just
one of my friends told me this a couple years back. I was talking to him about like smoking cigarettes. I used to smoke cigarettes.
Yeah.
But he kind of worded this phrase in a way of where like with addiction, sometimes you're kind of competing with yourself. Like, how fucked up can I get to where I'm still able to function, but still get fucked up?
Yeah.
So the self-competition.
Yo, and see, that's another thing. Like, I was like into like extreme things, even like when I lived in Okinawa, like my mom probably doesn't know this and she might watch this and find it, but I used to jump from this apartment building to the next apartment building. There's 6 stories, you know what I mean? Like from roof to roof. Yeah, kind of like parkour, but before
parkour was cool.
It was really, you know what I mean? Something me and my friends would do, you know what I mean? And was like into inline skating. I was like really good at rollerblading, like jump 12 steps, 360, all, you know, grind handrails, not like some wussy rollerblading. I was like good at this, you know what I mean? But I was like,
just to clarify,
the rush. Yeah, I was really good.
Just to clarify, that pussy shit.
Yeah.
We're doing cool shit on the rollerblades.
This was like in the 90s, you know, it was a big thing, you know what I mean? And but it was the rush. I realize it now, but I didn't know it at the time. But that rush was like, you know, it was cool. And
stickball brings that too, right?
Stickball brings that big time. Especially, look at me, bro. I weigh 160 pounds. You know what I mean? Like, I got a target on my back. You know what I mean? When they see me running, everybody on the other team is like, I'm going to light him up. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to look cool. Everybody's watching. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's a rush, man. I be scared. You know, like there's some fear and excitement, you know, but there's a fear there until that first ball goes up. And then it's like, all right, we're playing ball now.
Let's go.
You know
what I mean? It's go time.
You know?
I feel like that's real common amongst natives though, like playing their natural sport that we played all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to some like they're not enrolled and you know they're playing with us and we accept anybody to play.
Yeah.
As long as you play for the right reasons and all that good stuff. But if you're gonna play, I feel like they feel differently about how we're playing.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes it just doesn't make sense. Like they're playing and they're getting that rush, but it's not the same rush that we would feel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because ours is more of like representing something.
Yeah.
Like our family, our clan, our town, like our community and whatnot.
I can see that definitely.
And then if you're from the outside and you didn't have that growing up, it's kind of difficult to get in that same zone.
Yeah. I really like the word in there is connection, right? Okay. So a big thing about what I do now is like the opposite of addiction is connection. There's all this science and all this studies that have happened in the past 10 years that's the opposite of addiction is connection because you're not connected. But there's no greater connection than being an indigenous person. You're connected to the water, to the fire, to the land, you know, to the people, to the community, you know what I mean? And tapping back into that is the answer, you know, and then that's a big part of what I do with my outreach work and with the job that I do now is culture really is the answer. Think about this, like, so I wouldn't play stickball because I was getting high, right?
Yeah.
But I would steal from my grandma, your grandma, anybody's. You know what I mean? That's wrong. Like, that's horribly wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm not going to go play stickball. Are you kidding me? Like, see what a strong barrier that is, right? It's like I respect that medicine so much that I'm going to stay out here, outside the circle. Whereas if I want to get inside the circle, I'm going to be protected and you know, more successful because the numbers, the statistics of people that actually make it out of addiction are so like you know it's low.
It's ironic how much culture natives have and how much addiction impacts us.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And I firmly believe it's because like we don't know how to handle things that make us feel different. Right? Think about how many years we were good to go without these kinds of things.
Okay,
right? We didn't have money. We didn't have police. We didn't have jails. We didn't have. Nobody was starving. We didn't have any of those things. You know what I mean? Like, so when those kind of things came around and you know, impacted us in a negative way drastically. You know what I mean? Think about we made up 100% of the population of this land. And now we make up 1% of the United States.
Damn, it's fucking crazy.
It's like less than 1% of this
point. That's being generous, 1%. And we used to make up, you know, it's a real, you know, it's something that a lot of people don't talk about. The Holocaust, horrible, right? You know, horrible.
That's
it's small if you want to count like what happened to indigenous people. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of, you know, stuff that and so generational trauma, that's a whole nother topic, right? That I didn't know anything about. I thought that had nothing to do with me, but those behaviors we're still doing. Think of Indians do Indians worse than we'll let other people do us, right? Like, I'll be damned if we're going to let somebody from the outside come in here and steal from you, right? But Indians are going to steal from you. You know what I mean? Stealing from other Indians, you know, like it's crazy. And that's a learned behavior. You know what I mean? All those kind of things. That's where you get into generational trauma. Like the things that happened to our ancestors are still affecting us today.
Yeah.
And I didn't even realize that. You know?
It's unfortunate how much they cover that. So I still run into people today that they're surprised because they think I'm Samoan or Hawaiian or some shit like all the time. When I was dealing at the casino, they're like, "Oh, you look like Maui." Like, fuck, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, "Are you for real?" But they're like, "I look like Maui," and I'm like, "Okay, yeah." There's a movie that just come out with Maui, right?
Yeah.
How long ago was Pocahontas made?
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just a long time ago. But now, like, Killers of the Flower Moon, so everybody's like, oh, there's natives. You know what I'm saying? That's bringing back more relativity. We've always been relevant.
Yeah.
You know, we used to work and live on the land that everybody lives on now. We've always been relevant. But there's a movie about it, and everybody's seen the movie, and now they're like Native Americans. And trying to tap back into that.
Yeah.
But it's like going through school, I ran into people that didn't know we were still around.
Yeah, that's wild. And that's just right down the road,
yeah,
too.
And that was in Georgia. That was like 45 minutes away from here.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're what? Cherokee? Oh, like actually Cherokee? Or are you like just saying that? Because there's a lot of African American descents that would be like, oh, well, I thought you just said you're Cherokee because you had good hair.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nah, bro. Like, I'm real live from Cherokee. There's a place called Cherokee.
Card.
Yeah, like it's like the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like we have a language. We're here, and there's people that live in.
Yeah.
They see grandma and they see all the people, and they're like, oh shit.
Well, this even taps into the topic of media representation and how it's changed over the years. But
No, it's changed big time. Yeah.
What do you think the most effective treatments are or strategies for addiction?
Oh, culture, right?
Culture?
So we have our own rehab, Connection.
Yeah.
You know, it's part of the hospital. Big culture is a big thing there, right? Sharing stomp dance down there. So I get to go down there 2 days a week and teach different classes and things like that. But my thing is like, that's where I first started learning about culture, was at Connection. Kiave, Bone. Was the first person to teach me about gatio or stomp dance. And boom, right away I was hooked. You know what I mean? Like I was singing, learning the songs, told him when I got out I was going to go to stomp, you know, and I ended up going from that rehab, which is 90 days, right, to another rehab in Murphy. That's 1 year. So I had like 18 months altogether when I came home. You know what I mean? And I feel like the long term is better, especially if it's been a long-term addiction. You know what I mean? Like if you've been getting high for 5 years, you maybe can go to a 30-day treatment center. If you've been getting high for 10 plus years, you really need, it takes a year, you know what I mean, for your brain to start kind of healing, you know, and changing the way you think. You know what I mean? That's crucial to staying clean and sober.
So is there a difference within, like, I guess the treatment process within Cherokee and the EBCI versus like one off the boundary in terms of culture and how it's connected?
So there's no culture. Well, I went to an all Indian rehab in New York too one time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the big thing that's different is that we have money. Okay, so if let's say you got sick, you got hooked on drugs, you want to go to the hospital. Before we had Connection, we'll send you wherever.
Okay.
Anywhere we can get you in, we'll pay for you. Rehab is expensive too. Rehab, talk for like a 28-day program, probably costs like $30,000-$40,000 a person.
And I guess for non-natives, like with insurance.
Yeah, with insurance, we'll pay for that. But some insurances only pay for 14 days. Some only pay
assuming
for 20.
they have insurance, right?
Yeah,
so.
And your typical drug addict does not have insurance, you know, 401k or any of that, right? Like I'm living on the street, you know what I mean? Like I don't have insurance, you know. But we, as a tribe, have been able to send our people to rehab all over the country. You know what I mean? And now we have Connection, so that has to be our first option, right? Because it's part of the hospital. Now, if for some reason you can't get in there or you can't go there, maybe for disciplinary reasons or who knows why, then we can send you to somewhere else. You know what I mean? But non-Indigenous people do not have that luxury. You know what I mean? They don't. You know, it's hard. It's a lot harder to get the kind of treatment that we get as Cherokee people if you're non-Indigenous, you know?
I feel like, too, it's kind of like, would you say it's almost like handicapping you in a way, knowing that you had that to fall back on?
Yeah,
you know?
Because I used it. Like I said, you know.
Because you said you went a couple times.
Oh, I went 8 times to rehab, right? You know, there's a whole, you know, I would go to rehab. I went to rehab for the hell of it 4 times. And then I went a couple times to make my family happy. And then the last time, that's when I was like, yo, you know what I mean? By then, I was a veteran. You know what I mean? Like, I knew everything about, I've been to this rehab, that rehab. You know, I knew counselors here, there. You know
I'm just here for my 30 days and I'm out.
Food, you know? I knew everything about it, but it took, you know, and that's another statistic is it typically takes like 7 to 8 times. You know what I mean?
Now, with rehab, I'm not very familiar with the whole process. But are you allowed to like leave and go freely, or you're kind of like
It depends on where you go, but typically your inpatient facility is going to be not locked, but you're monitored. You know, there's staff, 24-hour staff. Okay. And if you get mad and say I'm out, that can happen. You have that ability. That doesn't really happen a lot. People get mad and say I'm leaving and they call a ride and somebody come. You know what I mean? Like seldomly do people just get up and storm out.
Right.
But I've been to some hardcore rehabs too. I went to rehab in Memphis, I went to rehab in New York. I went to rehab in Virginia. I went to a few rehabs here in North Carolina, you know what I mean? But no, you're not, they're not all locked. That's more of like your hospital type setting, you know?
And then did you encounter any major setbacks during your recovery, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah. So when I came home, I was 35 years old and I had to live with my mom, right? That I don't consider that a setback. It really helped me, but it was hard because I was a grown man. I had to go and luckily my mom let me come there. Okay. Because my addiction got so bad that I couldn't even go to my mom's property because I was such a thief. You know what I mean? My mom is probably the strongest person I know because she was, after so many years of it, she was like, yo, I'm done with you. You know what I mean? I don't want to have nothing to do with you until you turn your life around, you know? So I really did the work this time, and even, so I had to, that was hard, right? I didn't have a driver's license. I didn't have a job, that's hard. It's hard to get a good job at that time. This was 6 years ago, like there's not a lot of super recovery friendly places, that are safe to work. Like now the hospital is like major. There's so many people in recovery working at the hospital and with the tribe. The tribe's getting better at that too, like giving people a chance. But not having a license, I lived at my mom's house for about a year and made it work. I just, you know what I mean? I was a grown man. I had to ask her permission. I'm going to go play. I'm going to take my kids, had to ask her, and that was hard.
I feel like that was an ego check in a way.
So I don't think it was a setback, but it was hard because I was like, man, what? Look at you. You know what I mean? Like remember I was telling you, like, that was always a problem, like throughout life, like my self-esteem and how I looked at myself. But I didn't care at this point. I was like, yo, I want to turn my life around. I always been loud, and like had a voice, and spoke up on things. But I was starting to see people hearing me when I would talk about recovery and addiction. Like right away, I got into like public speaking. And I'm real big at recover out loud. It's like a saying. It's basically like, I'm telling you, I used to be a drug addict. I'm not going to hide that. Are you kidding me? I'm like proud. You know what I mean? Like my life was complete shit. Yeah.
Kind of overcomes that negative stigma of talking about it, right?
Yes.
There's a big thing in Cherokee where like a lot of stuff is just pushed under the rug.
Yeah.
Censored.
Yeah. Right now, I feel like as a tribe, we're doing a lot better with taking the stigma out of, giving people a chance. You know what I mean? Oh, you're trying to turn your life around? Well, guess what, bro? I'm proud of you. You know what I mean? Some law enforcement was some of my biggest supporters, believe it or not. And I was a straight up hardcore criminal. You know what I mean? I wasn't just like running around here doing drugs. I had to get money to buy those drugs. And I didn't have a job, for 10 years straight. So I was a criminal. I was committing crime every day. And law enforcement, the judicial system had my back. Some council members were big, and it was because I was like speaking, it's not what I'm saying, it's what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like that's a big thing, right? And that's what I tell people that I work with in recovery all the time. It's not your words don't mean shit, because how many times did I say, oh, I'm gonna change. Oh, I'm gonna do better.
Right. So the action behind the words.
Yeah. You have to show people. You know what I mean? Like, and my mom saw a change in me, and helped me. You know what I mean? I lived at her house for a year before I got my own place. You know what I mean? Got my driver's license. I had a car and a motorcycle before I got my driver's license. That was,
I feel that's a Cherokee norm too. Cherokee license.
And I remember telling my mom, like, yo, I have to get around. You know what I mean? Like, I need a car. You know what I mean? Like, I need to get me a car. And she knew I was doing so well that she was like, okay, she got a car in her name for me. You know what I mean? But I was paying for it. But even the cops, I went through a roadblock on Wrights Creek. You know what I mean? And when I was pulling up to, I was like, oh man, like everything went down. I was like, I'm gonna get arrested. You know what I mean? Like, and it was Don Decline and Tank you know, and Donnie was like, "What's up, Martens?" I was like, "Listen, man, I don't have my driver's license yet, but I'm working on it. I have a lawyer. He's like, "Oh, hell, man, we're proud of you, man. Don't worry about it. Get out of here."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that happened a few times, you know what I mean? And I felt the love from the community, like accepting me back because I was doing the right thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I feel like that's a big thing for 2024 across the world is like, quit saying it and just do it.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
across the board. Like how many times have we ran into that situation? Not just me and you, but like as far as like being involved in a situation where we're just like, are you going to do it or are you just going to talk to me about it?
Yeah.
Quit talking
So,
about it, do it.
Talk to me after the fact that you already did it.
Because I mean, like, I can't even lie. I've got pissed off at him like twice because he was just like, well, are we going to do it or what? I'm like, fuck you, dude. I'm just trying to I'm trying to brainstorm, man. He's like, fuck that. We doing it or what? I'm like, damn.
Like a do or die. Like, I'm going to do this.
But it's definitely like, I feel like a lot of people are realizing that.
Yeah.
Then it's not something that wasn't always like, it wasn't always a problem, but it wasn't always something that people did either.
Yeah.
'Cause, like, it was always normal to talk about something, talk.
Yeah,
And then, you know, anybody could just come up with an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
There has to be some action.
Right.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the kind of problem, though, that affects everybody here. I would go out to say that everybody in the United States is related to somebody that suffers from drug or alcohol addiction. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Most
I mean, this is
definitely.
a problem that we all have in common. And that's like playing stickball is something that helped teach me about Gadoogie, you know what I mean? Like community, as far as like, if you have a problem, then we have a problem. You know what I mean? Like if I'm struggling, then we're struggling. You know what I mean? Like that
more the family oriented community.
Yeah.
So this kind of ties into the next question is what new habits or hobbies you picked up
to
replace that, right? You had to replace it with something.
Yeah. So originally was mountain biking.
Okay.
Like I came home, I got big into mountain biking, and was hanging out with like Levi and Levi West and Laura and James Soap and there's like this whole mountain bike community, man. Like, it's like mountain biking like crazy. I got big into mountain biking, stickball right away. As soon as I came home, I joined the Hummingbird, started playing ball.
And had you played before that?
No, never even.
So you just always watched it and wanted to be a part of it, but never got to.
Never even picked up a stick. You know what I mean? Like first, completely sober. And so our first time going out to practice, right? Like I had no idea I was gonna be tested. Day one.
They don't definitely advertise that at all. They're not like, pretty much. Like, you might as well just stand there and let every player hit you one time. This might as well happen, but they don't tell you.
And I thought I was gonna die. You know what I mean? Like legit, it was T-Dub. I didn't even really know him at the time. I knew who he was. He knew who I was. I didn't, I had been friends with Harley for a long time. But I didn't know him. And he just yanked me up, slammed me, choking me, and I was like, okay, I'm not breathing. Like he's probably gonna stop.
It's like, when's this stopping point?
It was probably like 6 seconds, but I thought like it was like 6 minutes, like I was about to die. You know what I mean? Like I remember thinking like, I don't want to do this. You know what I mean? Like, I swear.
I don't want to do this.
You know what I mean? Like, fuck, what am I doing? You know what I mean? But I was like, fuck that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna play. You know what I mean? So I got back up, and then I was like, didn't even catch my breath fully, and then Tosh grabbed, and and I was like, why are these guys hating me so much right now? And Tosh was like, boom, slammed me, choked me. And then I got up from now, and then Dee grabbed me.
God dang.
You know what I mean? Like I'm at, and now, that I've been playing for some time, I know exactly. They want to make sure you have heart. You know what I mean? Because if they just take it easy on you, they're not doing you a favor. You know what I mean? Like you need to know what you're getting into before you keep, like there. And I see it now. Like when I see new guys come out, I'm like, hey man. Good luck.
Definitely like just weeding out the weak.
Yeah, and I think all the teams got to be like that. I'm sure that's like that.
They gave it to us. We went and played. So we played when we were younger. Nobody ever remembers because we sucked. But
I got my shoulder fractured.
So on his first one, he hit Jackson Figueroa.
Oh yeah, that's a big dude.
But he hit Jackson. Jackson didn't even see him coming.
Yeah.
So, but Zach got a hold of him though.
Zach Perez,
Zach Perez got a hold of him. Zach got a hold of me too.
Yeah.
In the same game.
Probably.
So, damn, they got a hold
How
of us.
old were you guys?
I was 17, 18.
Oh, yeah. Young,
I was still in the Army.
Yeah.
So this is just right before COVID.
Hardest I ever been hit in a match game was Zach. You know, boom. I mean, I see stars. You know what I mean? Like, it was just a medicine that I got it. You know, I bounced right back up. You know what I mean? But that's the hardest I've been hitting a match game. Yeah, but it teaches. That's a big thing too, right? It teaches you to stand back up. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you're stronger than you think. You know what I mean? That's like the whole time them guys were dogging me. The first year I played, they were coaching me too. They would be like literally on me, having some kind of, because I never been a wrestler. I never wrestled, grappled, none of that. I had no technique. You know what I mean? Like, and they would be like coaching me while they're killing me. Like, roll to the left, roll to the right, you know, move your hips. And I'm like, you know, like, it's like, bro, I can't breathe. Look, I run fast, bro. Just get, you know, let me go.
Exactly. I forget who it even was, but the first game that I'd played, no, because it was exhibition, first time coming back out. And then practice. And then it was that veterans game.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody was dragging me out, and they're like, move your legs. And I moved my legs, like not knowing what, I was just listening. Like, okay, move my legs, and two big dudes just fell.
Oh, yeah.
Right where my legs would have been. Ooh, and I was like, oh, yeah. So definitely the way they coach you and like work you through it.
Yeah.
I like that about our people as well as our elders. So.
I was hooked right away. Like, because remember I told you, like, I've always been in sports. I always loved competing. I always wanted to be a part of something, right? But I was always part of something negative. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I've been to prison, you know, jail. Couldn't even tell you how many times I've been in jail. I was always a part of something negative. But this was something positive and something real. And I was immediately all about some stuff. You know, I just wanted to get better every year. I just want to play a little bit better every year. Play more. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to be one of the 12. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be on the field playing ball. You know what I mean?
It goes back to that just butterflies, just having it. You know, how we're going to feel, I feel like it's never going to mean more to anybody else but enrolled members.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's not discriminating against anybody else that comes out, but it's just there's a different feeling behind it. You know, I still get butterflies every time I play, and it's not because I'm scared. I'm just like, oh, shit, this is about to.
Yeah, I love it. You know
we're about to go to war.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's literally what, you know, like the night before, you know, like the night before we play, you know, in October. You know what I mean? Like, I'll sleep fine before an exhibition game. You know what I mean? Like, it's fun. I'm laughing. You know what I mean? Yeah. But in October, it's like I have a hard time going to sleep the night before the game. You know what I mean? And I can't even eat good the day of the game. You know what I mean? I'll be hungry as hell when we're out there matching up and stuff. So I remember when I first got to play against Wolftown, I was one of the so, you know, we'll match up. We'll kind of pick who we want to play before we go there, right? So I was like the 13th guy. Like,
so you guys talk about it though.
Yeah. If they're like, if they want to go more than 12, you're gonna be one, because we had a lot of guys. You know what I mean? That the year when I first got to play against Wolftown. So I went to Unity thinking I'm not gonna play. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was, you know what I mean? Like, fuck, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna fucking play. You know? And I'm standing there, and then Slee's like, bro, get ready. You know what I mean? Because I guess he went there and they had talked about we're gonna play 15 on 15. Yeah. You know what I mean? So he came back. And I didn't have time to be like freaking out. You know what I mean? I was just like, you know, all right, let's go. You know what I mean? Like, and I was pumped because I was picking up sticks the year before in the Hummingbird Wolftown game. And I remember thinking like, holy shit. You know what I mean? Like, they're going at it. You know what I mean? Like, boom. You know, it's different. You know, it's one thing to watch it on TV. You know, okay, yeah, that's a big hit. It's another thing to be standing 2 feet away, and then another thing to be right there. Yeah. You know what I mean? And
it's like hearing it, and then seeing them hit again on the ground is just unmatched.
Yeah.
No highlight reel or anything I think could ever just relate, give you any insight. Just seeing it, is different.
And so, you know, we play against each other as a team, Hummingbirds, all summer. You know what I mean? All summer. You know, I'm going against guys like Didi or Will Ferguson or Israel. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and then I remember the first match game I played, and I was running with the ball, and I saw like Tate, Israel, Jamie Norton running with me. And I remember I felt like so powerful. Yeah. You know, I was like, you know, nobody's going to touch me. You know what I mean? Like these, you know, because everybody's got, you know, got
those your brothers. Yeah.
I'll never forget that, you know, because it's fast. Everything's so fast. But I remember in that the first time I was running with the ball, like in the open field, and I saw these guys running with me, I remember thinking that, you know what I mean? Like, holy shit, you know what I mean? I felt like a badass, you know what I mean? I was like, you know, boom, then I got hit.
It's definitely, man, I can't even describe it. I remember. Damn, I don't even know if I should be talking about this, but like I said, you can cut this out. But anyways, I remember my first match game. Granddad had just passed.
Oh yeah.
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 So and I didn't do medicine, but I knew that if there was a way for me to play, I wanted to play.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to watch me, and this is the first thing. Like, I don't know. Up until this point, I feel like I never made my grandfather proud.
And this is your first match game?
First match game. He died 5 days before the first match game. So we're not even supposed to play for 7, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm like, fuck, like, what am I going to do? I can't go to medicine, you know? And I went and did my own thing. Jamie went with me. He didn't do medicine with me.
Yeah.
He said, if you're going to go out there like that and you're going to play, I'll do it with you.
Yeah.
You know? And I went out there. We did our own thing. We went out, you know, did our own stuff. Came back. No scratches. I felt so disconnected from the team, but with them at the same time.
Yeah.
And getting out there and scoring the first point, I almost cried. Did I tell you that?
Yeah, I remember seeing you like did a thing too, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm never one for like corny shit.
Yeah.
Like, you know, doing like
that's deep, man.
But that one was like I felt
and so that's your first actual point too.
First actual point, everything.
First
and someone had caught it on camera. And I was just like, oh shit. Like this one's for you. And then another one came. And then another one came.
Yeah.
And another one came. So, not bragging, but it was like 4 on every team.
Yeah,
and I was just like, dude, this is where I can make my, like, bring pride back to our family.
Yeah.
You know?
How you can contribute in a way.
Because, like, growing up, like, I got kicked out of boarding school. I was just dumb shit, whatever. And then the military, like, it just didn't work out because I had a little boy. So I had to come home. I didn't get to go as far as I wanted to. So this was
felt like
it.
you were succeeding at anything.
Yeah.
You know, being a legit ball player is like high. You know, people notice that shit. You know what I mean? And I see it. You know what I mean? That's what I want to play. I want to score goals. You know what I mean? Like I want to play ball. I want to, you know, I want to be a good ball player. You know what I mean? Like I like that. You know, I remember watching Kyle Chapa play a lot too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And I thought,
he played for
Hummingbirds.
Hummingbirds, right?
And he was young and small, and like I would always, that's what I would keep telling myself, like, yo, man, Kyle's playing ball, man. He's a fucking badass. You know what I mean? That's a wrong dude to compare yourself to because he's a badass, man.
Yeah.
Even the big guys on my team tell you, like, Kyle is
he gets after
scrapper.
it.
You know what I mean? And it's not me. That's not who I am. You know what I mean? I run fast, you know, and I've really learned the game quickly. So I feel like I got some game, you know, like I see and understand the game.
You figured out like your style.
Yeah, you know, like you know, like I don't let people pressure me into doing some dumb shit. Like I don't have no business fucking wrestling the biggest guy on the, you know, I don't care. You know what I mean? Call me. I'm not gonna come over there and wrestle you, bro. I'm gonna play my role.
This ain't no wrestling match.
Yeah.
He said, "Play where the center." Yeah, you got me fucked up.
I know, but you know what I mean. Like I feel comfortable being a runner. You know, I want to get more aggressive though. Like I've been consistently like working out. Like you know, I really like working out, being in the gym, trying to run. Plus, I'm getting older too, you know what I mean? Like, so I got started late in life, you know what I mean? So
you want to do 40 and over game or what?
No, not until I'm done playing with the men. You know, when I'm done playing with the men, I will. I want to play. I feel like I want to like be matched up with Dorian at least once. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
fair.
I think
That's
that
a
would
lot
be fun.
of.
You know what I mean?
Like, they have like a lot of older dudes have goals for that. Even Wahi, Eric Sanders, the one that we met out there.
Yeah,
he said he'll be done when his son plays. Yeah, when he plays him one time and then. Plays with him one time against somebody. Yeah, so I want to. You know, I don't want to play against Dorian like dog. You know, but I think it would be a lot of fun. You know what I mean, to play against my son if I'm matched up with him. You know, because it's still, you know, that's still my son, right? So even he's a grown ass man, but when I'm watching, I'm worried for him. You know, like you know, I wouldn't want him to play against us and me. Like, what do you do, right? Like, you know, what if one of my guys is over there just dogging it? Like, do I like, what if he gets into it? He has to get in a fight.
You know what I mean?
Or like I can see like a fight.
How would you handle that?
I don't know, man. You know what I mean? Like, okay, Dorian, you guys know Dorian. There's no way somebody's just going to be like, I need to fight Dorian. You know what I mean?
Oh, there's no way.
No way. He's like the nicest guy I know. You know what I mean? He's one of the best guys I know, straight up. He's a really good dad. He's a genuinely good dad. I don't see that being a thing, you know, because even if a big fight broke out, I don't see that. I don't think that would ever be a thing, you know what I mean? But what I've thought about this lots of times. Like if he walks out and gets matched up against Humber, he's gonna get matched up with somebody big, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and they're gonna,
He's not a small dude. He's got some.
Yeah,
he's
a big guy. It wouldn't match up with him. We wouldn't match up unless it was like, oh, this is a father son. Let's match them up. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I've worried about that from since he told me he was going to play ball. You know, I was like, yo, man. You know, like
I didn't even know he was coming out until
I was so proud. So he, you know, I remember somebody saying, "How does that make you feel?" He plays for Whooptown, and I'm like, yo, I'm fucking pumped. I want him to play ball. You know what I mean? I'm not worried about what team he plays for. You know what I mean? I'm just glad he's playing ball. You know, that's a big deal. You know.
And traditionally, it's not something you can choose.
No, like that's he's all. You know, that's Kanai and them's family. Right? So he's gonna play for Whooptown.
So you always play for your woman's family. So you know, if they're from Wolftown, you're playing for Wolftown. So just like taking the woman's clan, you're adopted into their clan initially. So, but it almost makes like, could you imagine that situation? Say like the fight broke out like last year, right?
Oh yeah.
And you turn around, say you did get mad, you turn around and like Dorian's like do y'all freeze or do y'all follow through?
That makes me think of like historical like warfare and how brothers were fighting against brothers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Man, you know, I'm not that guy. Like if he was swinging on me, you know, I would just try to grapple with him. I don't think me and him's like, I don't see us.
I don't see y'all being like that.
But
I can see other other brothers being like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can see that, but I don't know. There's been times like I've tackled Dorian and he starts laughing and I'm like, damn, dude, I can't even like get mad. I can't practice grappling and being mad at you because you're laughing at me.
I feel like if we matched up though, it would be fun because he would, you know, he would be wanting to get the best of me, you know, like wrestling, and we would have fun, you know. What I mean? Like that, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and then, but I'm the dad, right? Like I can't let him
win.
Oh yeah,
I would have to.
You always got to be better.
Yeah, he's a big guy. You know what I mean? Like I would have to really wrestle him. You know what I mean? But I don't think he's a wrestler either. You know what I mean? Like I don't think
he's catching on.
Yeah,
he really is. I mean, so initially like. And I've never talked shit about Dorian, but initially I remember him being so off balance. Like once you got one foot, it's like his other foot's following.
Yeah.
So because I'll lift up one leg and that other leg is just there's no fighting it. It's like yep, I'm going to, and it's like I'd have to let him down slowly because he's going so hard. And I'm like, damn, like, but no, he's definitely caught balance now to where it's like I have to try to sweep him or something.
Oh yeah.
So he's definitely catching on.
Yeah,
like,
and he's got a freaking wingspan.
Yeah.
Man, you know what I mean? Like,
you know what pissing you off about Dorian though? He'll run and chase somebody and only run as fast as they're running.
Oh yeah.
So then if it's a slower guy, he's only running as fast as that slowest dude, even if he has the ball. And I'm like, Dorian, you chased me down.
Yeah.
You could have caught that guy. Like, that's crazy. You're running his speed. And he laughs about it too.
Yeah.
But he's funny. He cracks me up. I love playing with Dorian. Man.
Yeah, I'm glad that he plays ball. Like real talk, like I'm proud of him. You know what I mean? I didn't expect him to play stickball. You know, nobody in my family plays stickball. You know what I mean? Like I think, like me and my cousins and stuff. Like I'm like my first cousins. You know what I mean? Like I'm only one in like my immediate family that plays ball. You know,
that's what's up.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask personally, the tattoos. Where did you start, and did they were they intertwined with So like. And this is all due respect, but was it intertwined with not giving a shit and like with addiction? Like you're just like, fuck it, I'm gonna just do my hands and like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or was there like reasoning behind every tattoo you had?
No, it was so easy for me to pick out. All right, so when I first watched Blood In, Blood Out, I might have been 10 or 11, maybe something. I was young, and I watched it with my cousins, Lopper and Dooner, and I was like, yo, I want to be tatted up when I grow up. And ever since then, I was like, I'm gonna be tattooed. And I didn't have a lot of great tattoos when I was getting high. You know what I mean? I had a couple of like nice ones. I feel like this was like a Paul Booth tattoo that, you know, that I was pretty proud of that. But for the most part, I would just be like, oh, I like that. I'm gonna get that tattooed on me. But then when I really got clean sober, that's when I was like, oh, I'm trying to get tatted up. You know what I mean?
So it was like a sober mindset of like I want to get tatted.
All my tattoos are pretty positive. You know what I mean? Like,
I've seen that actually before with certain people like through like recovery, they'll be tatted up, and it's almost like a therapy in a way.
I was about to ask
it's because you have some money too. You know what I mean?
Oh, that too.
You got extra money this time. I was going to ask too. Like, do you think it became sort of an addictive factor?
What?
Because a lot of like you said, it was like therapy, right?
Oh yeah.
But did you think it was probably like addictive to sit there and get poked?
Yeah. No, you know what? That's funny because I hate getting tattooed. You know what I mean? It hurts. You know what I mean? I love having the tattoo and the art. Like I feel like it looks cool. Straight up. Like that's why I'm all tatted up, because I think it looks cool. But when I'm getting tattooed, it freaking hurts, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like the short term of it is just like the sacrifice there is just enough because you're gonna have it for your life.
I'm not addicted to the pain at all. You know what I mean? Like, some people like
some people like that shit. You ever seen like the blackout ones? That's
hardcore because they got like 20-some needles at a time going. You know, it's like a wide thing. Yeah, that shit hurts. You know,
that's insane.
Yeah, and I'm real skinny, so everywhere on me is close to a bone. You know what I mean? Yeah. It hurts, man. You know, but I like my tattoo. I like being tatted up. I feel like it looks cool. You know what I mean? And I think I don't know. I like the look. I think it looks cool.
You know, growing up too, like whenever I saw you, I was definitely like, he reminds me of someone that'd be on Jackass.
Oh yeah,
yeah, honestly, because of like
do some crazy shit.
Yeah.
Like what's his name, Bam Bam?
Yeah,
Bam Bam. I think he's tatted up.
Yeah,
like, he has sleeves and stuff, and he's doing the skateboard Jackass stunts and stuff. So I was like, damn, like he looks like he'd be on Jackass.
I always wanted to be tatted up, you know what I mean? And as soon as when I got clean and sober, like that's when I started getting like big sleeve, just filling all the spaces type stuff, you know what I mean? And because I could afford it then. I didn't really get I didn't get tatted up in prison like a lot of people, you know what I mean? There was some really good artists going on, but there was also like a lot of infection and stuff like that.
Right.
So
that's real rough, I'd imagine.
Yeah. I didn't really get I went to state prison too. Typically in federal prison is where you got guys like doing those real big, fancy, nice tattoos.
Because they're long term.
Yeah,
it seems
federal
like,
prison's a little more serious than state prison.
So
what was that? What was that like?
Prison, all right. This is what I tell people all the time. Like, in prison is how you carry yourself. It's 90% mental and 10% physical. Because I don't fight. I can't fight. You know what I mean? I won one fight my whole life, and that's because I cheap shot at the guy first. You know what I mean? I've been beat up. I've lost like I'm like 1 in 10. You know what I mean?
I was about to say, like,
you know what I mean? But I was there. You know what I mean? But no, and people aren't gonna mess with you like that. If it's just how you carry yourself, and I'm not talking like act like a badass. I'm talking say what you mean what you say,
respect
say what
yourself.
you do.
Really.
Yeah. It's how you carry yourself. You know what I mean? And so doing time was easy for me always. You know what I mean? Like and it was weird. That's how I would be comfortable when I got locked up, and I would be nervous when I was getting out because I knew I was going back to the street and drugs and chaos and misery. Whereas when I got locked up, I knew I was going to be eating and sleeping and taking care of myself. That's why that's why I look as young as I do. And I know I look older somewhat, but I look a lot younger than a lot of my friends do at 43 years old. And it's because when you're locked up, you're super healthy.
Did you see addiction in there?
Yeah. Huh?
Did you see addiction in there? As in like people?
Yeah. Some people still, I had the option to still do drugs when I was in prison, but I wanted to eat. You know what I mean? I didn't want to spend my money on nothing but food. Right. And I smoked weed a couple times, you know what I mean? Nothing serious, but by the time you get to prison, you've been in jail for a while, so I'm sober, you know what I mean? I'm making better decisions and stuff, you know what I mean? But I didn't want to get strung out.
How do you handle cravings or triggers now?
Now, I don't never have any cravings at all, okay? And it's because of Tohi, like there's this inner peace. Yeah. I love myself so much. I'm not going to poison myself. But triggers happen without even thinking about it. Smells, sounds, songs, right? Think about this. Like if you hear a song that was your jam 20 years ago, one musical note, you can travel 20 years. You know what I mean? It's like that with triggers. Mm-hmm. It's the same way. Like you hear a song that you used to always get high to, boom. I can't go in a bathroom in Cherokee that I didn't shoot up in. You know what I mean? And so when I go in a bathroom at a gas station, like I remember that. Yeah. And that's considered a trigger, but it's not like an urge to use. Okay. Yeah. But I handle them well, talking about them, coping skills, self-care. I just do things to take care of myself.
What are some common misconceptions about addiction that you would like to address?
Well, that people, they will never change. Okay. It's like, I think about, you've seen me walking up and down these roads, strung out, homeless. You know what I mean? And I'm sure people were like, he will never change. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I was one of the worst around. Mm-hmm. Is if you'll never, you never know when the light's going to come on for that person. You know what I mean? Like it took, if they gave up on me after 5 rehabs, I wouldn't be here. You know what I mean? Like, you never know. As long as they're still alive, there's still hope. That's a misconception, I believe, is there. some people will never change.
Right. That's real powerful, dude. Because like honestly, I didn't know like a lot of people kind of overlook the fact that there's a lot more to someone than like the whole corny. There's a lot more than meets the eye on somebody.
Oh yeah.
So, but it's like I never would have known that you were overseas at any point. It never crossed my mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, like we've all heard like negative stuff. You hear negative stuff about everybody.
Yeah.
And then, but there's always a before.
Yeah.
Like what was he like before?
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I was and that's the thing too, is like recovery. So like addiction is losing who you are, but recovering is like really learning who you are. And who I really am is like a nerdy, corny guy. Like I like nerdy things. I love documentaries and I like Harry Potter and I like telling corny jokes to Aaliyah all day long. You know what I mean? Like I like goofing off with my kids. I catch myself doing and a lot of the things that my brother's dad, who's not my biological dad, but was my dad, like he used to sing like just normal sentences and sing like, and I do that, you know what I mean? Like it's crazy. You know what I mean? Like I like things like that. You know what I mean? Like I like doing the right thing. Like, I used to be a hardcore criminal. I remember me and my son Chaz were crossing the street from the island right when I came home. I was been clean about a year and a half. And I was like, wait, man, we got to go to the crosswalk. And he was like, didn't you used to be like a hardcore criminal and now you're worried about jaywalking? And I was like, yeah, I am. You know what I mean? Like,
wait, how old was he at this time?
10 maybe.
Oh, they're unfiltered.
No, he was about 7 or 8.
Definitely right? So unfiltered as shit. They say what's coming.
Yeah. You used to be like, yo, you're right. You know what I mean? Like, I try to do the right thing. You know what I mean? And here's a good misconception about recovery and addiction. People that are in recovery are not perfect. I'm not perfect. Like people try to put, especially if you're like really outspoken about recovery and stuff. I'm not. I make mistakes daily as a human being. I fall short. If you're a Christian, I fall short of the glory. I sin or I'm not perfect. You know what I mean? I don't use drugs and I don't drink. You know what I mean? But I'm not perfect. I make mistakes as a human being, but I stand back up every day. Just my big thing is like I can't lose my clean time. You know what I mean? Like that 6 years is like major to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can't lose that.
Yeah, it's definitely a big deal. I mean that like I said, a lot of people just kind of, these are one of the things that's kind of just swept under the rug and not I don't want to say not talked about it because you're making changes to that now as far as like being more open about it. But as far as just like, it might take, say you're walking on the street, right? And you're really thinking about, you're like, dude, like it would be nice right now. Me walking past you and just saying like, yo, what's up? I've heard your story. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm proud, like I'm real proud of you and you really inspire me.
The small moments.
Small moment to set you another 2 years in advance where you're just like, got to keep fucking going.
Yeah.
You know
what I mean? In the beginning, it was those things like that kept me going. You know what I mean? Because there were times where I was like, man, is this even worth it? Like, is this really what I want? You know what I mean? But it is. You know what I mean? Because like everything like I have is like, I have everything I could want, man. You know what I mean? Like I got a super great girlfriend. I got my kids, I got a stomp family. I got my family, me and my mom are tight. You know what I mean? Got, a motorcycle. I got a truck. I got my own place. I got a great job that I love. I never thought I would have a job. When people are like, if you work or, if you get a job doing what you love doing, you never have to work.
Yeah.
That shit's real. You know what I mean? Like, I love my job, man. And this is a big thing too. Is like, so I'm in recovery, right? If you work in the recovery field, all those bad things that I did, right? Like I've been to prison, I've been homeless, I've been strung out, I've robbed people, I've been robbed. Those all count as marks on my resume, good marks.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that?
Because that's the guy that's the kind of person you want helping you if you're struggling, right? Like I want the guy that's been in my same shoes. You know what I mean? And if you want to get further with it, I'm also from the community, right? So I get to help. I get to work here with people in our community. You know what I mean? Like that. I could say one thing, and then the doctor beside me that has the PhD could say the exact same thing. And they're going to hear it from me, because we're connected, because we're Cherokee or we're indigenous, because we also get people from other tribes, you know, that we help too. So that there's that piece to it too. You know what I mean? Like I've learned some of the lessons I've learned you couldn't learn at Stanford. You know what I mean? Like that you can't learn in a book. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that, so like working, if that's what I tell people all the time, they're like, you know, I'm a convicted felon. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't. There's some jobs that I couldn't never do. You know, like I can't go on that bike ride. You know what I mean? That I really would love to go on that bike ride, but I'm a convicted felon, and that's okay. I accept that. I know, I get it. But in the recovery field, none of that shit is bad. That's actually good marks.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like all my life experience is like valued in the recovery field.
To expand on that, what are some resources the tribe offers for addiction?
Well, it's the hospital, right? But it's part of the tribe, same kind of thing, right? Well, we have MAT clinics, you know what I mean, where you can be on Suboxone or methadone. On that
Suboxone and methadone, how do you think medicinal marijuana ties in?
Yeah, I think, you know, so I voted yes, you know what I mean? But I don't smoke weed, you know what I mean? I don't need, you know, I'm not into that. I don't need that. But I see the benefits of it, you know what I mean? But now it's just a fine line, right? Like we could debate on this all day, you know, because if you're smoking to get high, that's one thing, right? But if you're like really using it like to calm down, you know, in the evening before bed or for everyday anxiety, right? That's, you know, but if you're just straight up getting high every day, all day, you're getting high, right? And that could be wrong for a person in my shoes, you know what I mean? But I feel like medicinally there's a lot of pluses, you know, and that I think it is a good thing. So I voted yes for it, but I don't partake.
Right.
But it is a good thing, you know.
And then as far as the other things that the tribe offers as well.
Oh yeah. So like, you know, we can send you to rehab wherever, you know, we have outpatient clinics, you know, we have MAT with Suboxone and methadone, which is huge in our community. Let's see. There's also other things like culture, right?
Community events.
Us being Cherokee, we get to partake in, like Gatio or Stomp Dance. We have Stickball. We as a tribe have the most beautiful place to live in. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we got hiking, fishing, so many things that we offer as where we live, you know. But as far as a tribe goes, there's plenty, you know. They're starting to change their views as far as the stigma, you know, behind it. Like Michelle Hicks is real big about recovery and things recovery into. The recovery rally, July 12th, coming up.
Make a note,
I mean? Like,
July 12th.
You don't have to be on drugs to go, you know what I mean?
Right.
And if you are on drugs, still go, you know what I mean? Because those are the people that we need there the most, you know. But yeah, it's at the Birdtown Gym.
Okay.
You know, July 12th.
Definitely shout that out too, July 12th.
Yeah, it's a big event. I'm on the planning committee.
A couple more questions, and then we can start to wrap up everything.
Okay.
But what steps can loved ones take to support someone with an addiction?
Okay, so
as a father, mother, or brother, sister.
So there's a fine line between enabling and help. You know, like at some point you're going to have to either, if I'm allowing you to continue this behavior, I'm not helping you. Really, right? I'm really just enabling you. If I'm, you know, so if you have a loved one that is on drugs, okay, like real drugs, like hardcore drugs or alcohol, because that's a drug too. Encouraging them to get help is something you should do, but also, man, you know, pray for them, right? Because it doesn't matter how much you love that person. They have to want to do it, you know, and that's the hard reality of that conversation. Because I'm asked that question all the time by grandmas and grandpas and mothers and dads. What can I do, man?
I feel like it's a case by case thing too.
Yeah. So for me, it took tough love, right? Remember I told you my mom was like, "I'm done with you,"
right?
After so many years, right? And that's ended up being what I needed, you know. But some people might not be able to handle that, you know what I mean? So it is case by case. But first and foremost, know that if you're enabling them, you're not helping them. You know what I mean? Like, and also you wanting them to get help is not, they have to want it for themselves. You know what I mean? And that's one hard reality of the situation, is that it has to get so bad that they want to get help, you know?
And then just to tag along with that, over the years of your recovery process and addiction, have you, or was it possible to maintain friendships throughout those years? The ones you went into addiction with, possibly got out together or at the same time, or
some of my good buddies are, have gotten clean and sober, like Joseph Ward and Marshall Brad. A lot of the guys that I used to get high with are now clean and sober. But if I'm trying to be clean and sober, and you're still getting high, we can't be friends. Right. That's important. You have to cut ties with those people. Now, we live in a small community, right? So if I see you at Food Line, I'm going to say hi, but I'm going to keep it moving. Back in early recovery. Now, like I talk to people all the time that are still struggling, and I don't even talk about recovery. You know what I mean? I just try to talk to them like they're my friend. You know what I mean? Like show them some love.
Just real normal, you know?
Yeah.
I guess a hard thing to do too is like treating someone like they're, trying to recover, or they're an addict, and then treating them like a real person.
Yeah.
They try to I feel like a lot of people try to segregate, like, oh, he's an addict.
Yeah.
So then they're only like,
outcast,
what I'm saying?
almost.
Yeah. So it's like, ew, like, what I'm saying? But in reality, they're normal people.
They're human
You
beings,
could just be in that situation just as easily as they could.
Yeah. It only takes one bad decision. That's something I tell people all the time too. You have to stay humble. Like it's not even the people that I work with to help, right? They'll be in detox or they'll be in rehab. And I tell them all the time, it's like, we're here, bro. It's not me and you.
Yeah.
We're here. Because it just takes one simple bad decision and I could be right back. One wrong friend request accepted. One wrong, okay, I'll go with you. Or, I can give you a ride. It just takes, it's one bad decision and my whole shit could go right back to the bottom.
What was detox like for you?
Detox was rough. I'm old school, so I went through with no
cold
spots.
turkey?
Yeah. Well, like some, I don't know, maybe sleep meds or something. Yeah. But I detoxed in jail several times and thought I was gonna die. You know what I mean? But it's just alcohol withdrawals and then like benzos, which are like Xanax. Those are really the only two withdrawals that can actually kill you. And I was never really an alcoholic, just hardcore drugger. But it was rough, man. It was brutal, man. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. It's whatever you've seen on TV is like that. You know what I mean? Like throwing up, puking, mess, nasty, just gross, man. Horrible.
Sure. Yeah. And then horrible. One last question for myself. How did your relationships change once you began the recovery process?
Yeah,
improvements?
Big time overall? Improvements, because I had to own up to the fact that all those years it was me. I was pushing people away. I was a thief. I wasn't trustworthy. I wasn't respected. I had no, I was the problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I had to really look at my own shit and be like, yo, you got to be a better person. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be a better son. You got to be better. All my relationships changed for the better. And the most important one was like with my mom and my kids, right? Like me and Dorian were able to reconnect, and Chaz and Story, my other two kids, we all became close again. My brother, like my immediate family.
Right.
That all changed. And then
how'd you address emotions of like shame or guilt within yourself?
Okay, yeah, I'm glad. That's a big thing.
That's a good one too.
Yeah, I like shame and guilt. So this is a really cool thing. And I was just talking to Aaliyah about this like last week while we were in Oklahoma.
Okay.
So shame is horrible. Shame is a bad thing, but the guilt is a good thing. All right.
Okay.
And when Aaliyah watches this, she's gonna be like, because I just dropped this on her, and she put like added to it, you know what I mean? And she put a post on Facebook about it. So this is cool. But guilt is I've done bad things, which I have. I've done a lot of bad things. But shame is I'm a bad person, which I'm not. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I'm not a bad person, but I've done really bad things and I feel guilty about them. Am I ashamed of them? No. Because that shame, it's going to drown you, man. It's like an anchor just holding you right below the surface of the water. If you're ashamed, you're not going to be like you, okay? And if you have changed, then you have changed, So shame is bad. Guilt can be a good thing, right? Because I use that guilt. Like, I've done some really bad things, so I got to not do those things anymore. But I'm not ashamed of all that shit I've done because it led me to where I'm at now, on the Uktana podcast. Chill. You know what I mean? But yeah, shame is a killer. Shame will kill you. You know what I mean? Shame has led a lot of people back out to using, right? Because I'm so ashamed of these things. Like, it's going to kill you. You know what I mean? But you have to let go. You have to forgive yourself. And that is a a long process that only the person can do. Only you can truly forgive yourself. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter how many times I tell you, oh, I forgive you, until you like live that shit, you know, you're gonna be ashamed. You know?
I would almost tie it to like, I mean, to piggyback off of that was I didn't think about it like that. That one was good, but I feel like guilt would be like more of a past tense. I did it and now I feel guilty about it. Shame is like you're currently in it.
Oh,
present tense though, I feel guilty now of a past
event as far as what you're doing or what you've done. Yeah. But shame is like, I just did that. I feel fucking bad. Like I'm doing it right now.
Yeah, because if it's already happened, it would be in the past, right? So guilt. Yeah, I see that. Yeah,
that's what initially come to my mind. So I was like, okay, shame, guilt. I get that. Like I feel guilty about that.
But they both sound bad, right?
Yeah,
you hear
both have
shame
negative
and guilt,
connotations.
both bad, but you can use that guilt. You know what I mean? Like, I'm big about the glasses half full, right? So if I'm looking at it from a positive point of view, the guilt can be a good thing because it's gonna I'm gonna use that as fuel to not go back to that. But the shame will fucking kill you, man. You know what I mean? Like the shame, like if you was like the military, right? If you was beating yourself up about that continuously since that happened, like you're never gonna heal from that. You know what I mean? Like
kind of just reopening the wound.
Go with the shame, right? Like shame it'll drag you down. You know, but the guilt can push you forward. You know? Yeah.
Yeah. Because I definitely feel like, and this is the first time I've ever mentioned it like on camera. Like he's heard me talk about it before, but I feel like a bit of like animosity of myself for letting that go so easily. Because this is where I wanted to be. And you can ask him. He was like, growing up, he's like, we're always outside doing swords and shit, like playing with guns and stuff.
Yeah.
I knew he was going to go, but growing up, I didn't know I was going to go.
Yeah.
Until Jamie said something. Jamie Queen said something.
Oh yeah.
He said, "Fuck it, let's go to the military." The fuck. 2 weeks later, I go and sign up. I didn't tell nobody. I literally didn't say nothing to anybody.
Oh, wow,
I didn't tell my parents until 3 weeks before I left.
Oh dang.
So I knew for like 3 months, but you know, like that's something that I'm taking away from this that you just taught me that I need to, you know.
Yeah, you gotta let it go, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's done happened. Fuck. You know what I mean? Like if you're still holding on to that, you're the only one that's being affected by. Well, no, it's gonna affect your like relationships too, your connections, whoever. You know what I mean? Also, but just shame is a killer. You know what I mean? And it's okay to feel guilty. You should feel guilty. I feel guilty as fuck. I've done some horrible things, but am I ashamed? Nah. Because that's not gonna. It doesn't have hold.
It doesn't help you. So why would you hang on to it?
Be feel guilty. You know what I mean? But don't be ashamed. Because you know, it could happen to anybody, man. You know what I mean? It could happen to anybody.
All good up there?
Majority of questions I've had.
Well, we appreciate. Sorry, I didn't cut you off. Go ahead.
All right, one last question.
Okay.
For sure. How can society better support individuals recovering from addiction? Without the tribe in society,
just like people, right?
So you're not indigenous, you don't have any support, or you are indigenous and your tribe doesn't have this type of support, right? Because there's a lot of impoverished tribes out there.
Yeah,
we've seen a bunch of them that don't have that backbone to stand on. What could they do?
They could when somebody's trying, right? Give them a chance. You know, now I'm not just talking about like, okay, I've been off drugs for 5 days. Here's access to all my finances. You can be in charge of the cash risk. That's dumb. Don't do that, right? Like you're just setting that person up for. But I'm talking about like, okay, so and so is 3 months clean. He doesn't have a license, right? He doesn't have a car. I'm gonna give him a job. You know what I mean? Like, you know, giving people chances. Give them 2 chances, 3 chances. You know what I mean? Like, don't give up on people so easily. You know what I mean? But also, we need to let these people be part of the community because they are part of the community. Whether they're doing right or they're doing wrong, they're still part of the community. So, you know, giving people an opportunity to do okay. And then if they fail, don't think that just because you failed, that me and Corey are going to fail when we come along, or, you know, you know what I mean? Like, you know, give people a chance, you know what I mean? Don't let nobody rob you, run you over, you know what I mean? But, you know, give people a chance, you know?
This ties back into that tough love.
Yeah,
you gotta give them tough love because you can't just let them. You know, just like you say, you can't let them run over you.
Yeah. But, so I get to be the asshole now. You know what I mean? Like, you know, so when I was coming up, you know, I would go to like NA meetings, AA meetings, and there would be like a dude OG over there, 10 years clean, and he'd be like, "Oh, shut the fuck up, quit whining, quit being a wuss." You know, when I'm like making all these excuses, oh, wham, you know, and I get to be that guy now, and it's so fun. But then I always come back to like something. nice and caring, and
right.
I understand, but I also get to tell it to people how it is, and I enjoy that. But they hear me, and I can see that people respect that more because I'm speaking the same language as the people that on the street. You know, like I've been there. Like I know how to talk to my people. You know what I mean? It's cool. Yeah.
And I definitely I know I tie everything back into something, but that's how I understand a lot of stuff, though.
The connections, the spider web.
I always make those connections, but I feel like that's what a lot of people lack in today's society is that being direct.
Yeah.
You know, like if you tell someone like, hey, like, no, do it this way and have it done by this time so we can do this.
Yeah.
People try to sugarcoat like, well, maybe you should. No, bro. Tell me like it is.
This is life and death that we're talking about when it comes to addiction. So I'm going to shoot it to you straight. You know?
Right.
Like if and that's the thing too about like recovery. Like my whole job is not to tell you what to do. My job is just to help you come up with your own plan. That way, if you make it, you get to say, yo, I did that shit. Right. But if you fail, you're not like, Rob told me to do this and it's his fault I failed. Even if you fail, it's going to empower you because you're like, yo, I did that shit and I failed. So what can I do differently?
So walking along with them and supporting their path. Don't lead their path.
Yeah. Addressing the self-accountability a person must take.
Either way, it's going to empower you, right? You did it. You succeeded or you failed. What can you do different? Either way, it's still you. Right? You know what I mean? And that's empowering either way we look at it, which is cool.
Shit,
all the questions I have.
That's honestly this is probably one of the best podcasts we've ever had. This is a phenomenal, honestly, it's a phenomenal thing to hear your story because there's a lot of things I didn't know about you.
Oh yeah, that we didn't even, we'll talk about that some other time off. Cause there's so much, man. I could talk for days. I got stories on top of stories.
Well, hey, maybe part 2. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody wants to hear. They want to know what people's stories are. Yeah. I met a kid the other day. It was Dakota actually. Hummingbirds.
Swim to wire. Right?
Yeah.
So I didn't really have ever had an interaction with them. Yeah, that's my boy, our connection is through Jason Reed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Jason Reed.
Yeah, he used to live in this house for a little while.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
He lived here for just a little while.
Yeah. So he was like our uncle. Yeah. Like we saw Jason, it was like, oh, like shit's just lit. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it was always like, oh, I learned so much from Jason. That's why me and Jamie were gonna go to the military. That's who talked to him.
Yeah. Yo, he's got stories.
Oh. Yeah. I wish we were doing this when he was here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So much knowledge was just, taken with him. But I enjoy every moment that I have with him.
Yeah.
But so the Dakota, like he was like, "Hey, I follow the podcast. I think it's neat." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, maybe you should like jump on it." You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody got a story to tell. And he said, "Oh man, nobody wants to hear my story." And I was like, "No, bro. Everybody has a story. Just because you feel like nobody's interested doesn't mean people aren't." You know what I'm saying? Right. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a story that needs to be told.
Yeah, definitely.
It needs to be heard. So we really appreciate you coming onto the podcast, real, giving us the time. You know what I'm saying?
It's cool.
You got any more messages or anything that you want people to know about yourself or about recovery and where they could go? Is there there's like a hotline or something you could?
Well, if you're local, if you're indigenous or federally recognized tribe, come to the hospital. If you need help, go to the emergency room. Tell them you need help. We'll get you. It depends on what you want. If you want to go to rehab, if you don't, if you want to detox, we can help you with that. But most importantly is like if you're thinking about it, if you're thinking about making a change, stop thinking about it because you don't know if that next one is your last one, right? People are dying left and right. Fentanyl is killing people. Car fentanyl is killing people. We got this new thing called Trank. It's out, man. It's making this nasty infection.
I ain't even heard of it.
Super dangerous, okay? Like the drugs now they will kill you. And they're in everything. Like we got people that just smoke weed that are testing positive for fentanyl. We got people that do cocaine that are testing positive for fentanyl. They're putting that shit in everything. So be careful. Use Narcan. I'm real big about harm reduction. You know what I mean? I'm a firm believer in harm reduction. But most importantly, just if you're thinking about it, quit thinking about it and get help. And you better buckle up because it's gonna be a little crazy ride, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah. And that's Cherokee Indian Hospital, right?
Yeah, Cherokee Indian
So if you're anywhere local, North Carolina, Western North Carolina, Cherokee Indian Hospital, you know where to go.
Yeah, I guess you guys probably get a lot of non-local people that watch this too, and if like Buncombe County area is Sunrise. Get connected with Sunrise. Anybody that's homeless or using in Asheville knows what I'm telling you about. Just ask about Sunrise.
We can probably put additional resources in the description.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Links.
Yeah.
But Yeah, man. Like again, like I said, I definitely appreciate you coming out here and giving us the time, man. Like honestly, it took time out of your day to come out here, and you know, it's definitely beneficial. Appreciate you.
As soon as you mentioned the podcast in Oklahoma, I was like, bro, hey.
Facts.
I got you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched the first couple ones and I was like, okay, this is cool. You know what I mean? It's just chill. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, all right, I watched them both and I was checking out the clothing thing. You know what I mean? I'm balling on a major budget right now where I would definitely be rocking some.
Hey, it's rough. That's why we out here. You know what I'm saying? Coming soon, though. Y'all check it out. Coming soon.
Yeah.
But definitely go check out the links in the description below. Octana merch. You already know what it is. We definitely putting new stuff out there all the time. You know, get you a cup. See that?
Oh, I didn't even notice that, bro. That's so
I had to
slick.
face it towards the camera the whole time.
Yeah.
Hopefully y'all noticed.
Man.
You know, I kept taking sips over here.
I'm so thirsty. Let me enjoy this Octana lemonade in my Octana glass.
But y'all already know what it is. You got anything for them?
No, sir. Case Dizzy.
You got anything?
Nah, I'm cool, man. Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah.
All right. You already know what it is, man. Go like, subscribe, you know, all that stuff. Check out our socials. Go follow us on everything. Check out the merch for sure. Y'all already know what it is, man.
Peace.
Fuck with us.